and my time starts now. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with this controversy of global dimensions, which is the pronunciation of this very term. Some people pronounce it Pecha Kucha, others Pechachka. But if you could read this tiny print here, you would say that it says, for advanced learners, Pechachka. I'm advanced enough to pronounce it Pechachka. That's what I'm going to do. But first I'm going to talk to you about time, about 20 seconds. How much you can do in 20 seconds based on my personal research. You can say the English alphabet 4 times. You can have a glass of frappe in very fast. A student of mine did 27 push-ups, but you can also develop a point in a PowerPoint presentation in 20 seconds. Of course, we all know that PowerPoint is a very useful tool, but only if it's used correctly. If it's not used correctly, it can cause damage. And as you can see on this graph, PowerPoint has been causing death to many audiences worldwide. Now, my next slide is devoted to, well, it turns out that the longer does not necessarily mean the better. Because there are many serious consequences if you beat around the bush, develop a point forever, talk too much about things. You should be more concise, more specific, and speak to the point to avoid this kind of outcome. And let's look now, I think, at some of the most common mistakes presenters make. Obviously, the most common mistake is speaking forever. We could probably all allow time for lengthy PowerPoint presentations, but only in a 36-hour day, and we do not have this luxury, of course. Another very common mistake is on my next slide, which is coming in a second, I hope. Now, how about this? Are you tired of presenters turning and speaking to the screen, reading every boring word on the presentation instead of preparing properly, insulting your intelligence by reading what you can read, if the font is large enough, and doing poorly at that? Plus, they are not even facing you as they have turned to read. That's a very common mistake, and we all know that. Now, another one, too much animation. Text and images zooming in, zooming out, fading out, swirling around. And all this useless motion should be stopped. And sometimes all this comes with a sound, which makes the outcome even more unbearable. Stop useless motion. Now, color schemes. Many presenters spend long hours selecting the kind of background that they want to choose, the color of the font, the color of the background. And here's the effect, okay? And if you look at the list, the bulleted list, you realize that if these bullets cannot kill, then what can? And now, the good news is that there is life after PowerPoint death. These two people are architects who used to live and work in Japan in 2003, and that's when they came up with the idea to create this new model of presentation called Pechachka or Pecha Kucha, which is a very strict model of 20 slides, and each slide lasting only 20 seconds, and the slides advance automatically, which means that you have to be very well prepared, like I am, and the presentation should be very well planned, so that you do not say too much, you do not say too little, and you know when your next slide is about to show. So, Pechachka. This is the logo of a Pechachka, and you can find it in most of the places where Pechachka events are held on a regular basis. And these are the places where people belonging to the same field of expertise gather to discuss ideas that they have in common. And the event that we are at now is a third TESOL Macedonia Thrace Pechachka night. You can see that Pechachka nights are usually organized in cozy atmosphere, in this kind of environment, very often with a beer or with some snack. And they are nothing like the spotless conference halls that we are very much used to, like here, you know. And now the advantages of Pechachka. Now the very first one, the obvious one, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the Pechachka, yes, it's an image-based kind of presentation, which means there are not too many words at least, not much text, preferably no text. And we all know that there are many visual learners and fewer auditory learners. Now, the Pechachka format of presentations give you a chance to be a real speaker. You do not rely on text, my text is right here, and you have to be very concise and specific and talk and speak to the point. What else do I want to say here? I don't remember. Pechachka gives you a chance to feel that you are unique, like how I feel now, right? It gives you a chance to stand out from the crowd. because you're nothing like those boring presenters who speak forever, okay? So it gives you the advantage, in the future, bonuses, better job prospects, and stuff. So the bottom line is that you have to decide what you want to say and simply cut out the rest. If you're under an impression that it's an easy job, just because the presentation that we are talking about is short, you could not be more mistaken. There is a lot of challenge to it. And the most important challenge is that you need to focus in a very specific way, that you need to know exactly what you're going to talk about. And if you do not know that, you are really stressed. That's why I'm so relaxed, because I know what I'm talking about today. So you need to focus. You need to know exactly what you want to say. You're not supposed to say more. You're not supposed to say less. And then you're going to be a successful Pecha presenter. You know that the most important aspect of a Pecha presentation is time. You have 20 seconds and time will not stop for you. Okay, so in order to be understood, you need to structure your presentation well in advance and practice it a lot. Now, there are of course many similarities between a regular presentation and a Pecha presentation, and the obvious one is that both types start with an introduction. They have the main body in the middle, and they finish with a conclusion. The structure has to be clear in any case. The introduction and the conclusion need to create a frame. And now that I'm arriving at the end of my presentation, just want to tell you that Pecha is a revelation, it's a revolution. But of course, most of us will have to sit through many, many, many boring presentations in our lives. So in that case, do not forget a cup of coffee. Thank you very much. And now... And now, yes.